The 90s. A time when dial-up internet was a novelty, the Macarena was a dance craze, and Blockbuster Video was the place to be on a Friday night. It was the golden age of movies and video games, and for two young dudes named Jose and Kyle, it was the beginning of a lifelong friendship. Welcome to the Blockbuster Dudes podcast, where nostalgia reigns supreme and the popcorn never runs out.
Hello, this is Mrs. Doubtfire. No, it's not.
Hello,
It
dear.
is us.
It was run by Fruiting.
Hey, man. It was run by Fruiting. Yes. Oh, I miss Robin. I miss Robin Williams.
Don't
But
wait.
alas, it is us again. I, El Duderino, and
His Dudeness, Kyle.
we are the
The
Blockbuster.
Blockbuster Dudes.
We're back again.
We are back again.
Blockbuster Dudes Part 2.
Part two. All right, let's talk, dude. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. I would say let's take it back to yesteryear again. Let's
Of course.
get back into that mindset. Late 90s, going and working at Blockbuster, and we had one of my favorite things to do, employee favorites end caps. You remember those?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know, the employee favorites end cap was just an end cap on a shelf that had employees' names, and you got to pick 5 movies that were your favorites. For they could be anything you wanted from the store, and they were there to kind of let customers know what you like. So if they tend to like movies that you suggested for them, there's a whole bunch for them that they can automatically go to. So with that said, over to you, bud. Talk about it, man.
Oh, definitely. And it was cool because here's the funny thing is that each store kind of did a little bit differently. You had stores that did it weekly, stores that did it monthly, right?
Yeah.
And then what was funny is the customers would actually get to know the employees to a point because they'd be like, hey, which one of y'all is Jose? That's me,
Yeah.
And he goes, so did you really like this one? So he pulls one from my shelf. It could be an example of one that was on my shelf a lot was the Michael Douglas film, The Game, for good suspense drama.
Excellent
Right.
movie.
And no, yeah, that's one, go see it if you haven't seen it. But no, that's one of the ones that would regularly reappear every few months because I thought it was a good movie. And I would think it has rewatch value, but like I said, a lot of times customers would be like, hey, is this a good one? Or I'd get the opposite, like, hey man, look, I rented this. I saw it. You're Jose. I'm like, yeah, I saw this on your shelf. Dude, I rented this. I loved it. What else you got? So it would actually lead to connecting with customers and saying, hey, look, I like your taste. Or hey, that Kyle, or jokingly, that Kyle guy, he watches some weird movies. Like if he had like some stuff like Leo the Professional, which is now known as Leon the Professional because they did the director's cut.
Sure.
But those are 2 movies actually, jokingly, that would routinely make it onto my list. One was The Game, then The Professional, and I always said if you could find the European version, which was Leon the Professional or Leon. A lot of the extras that were added back into it, like, it wasn't just that it had behind the scenes stuff. It was a version of the movie that was longer that had more of spoilers here. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it. But I have to give the spoiler because the customer's reaction to this spoiler was freaking awesome. Like I said, I still remember it. And what it was is that spoiler more. Huh?
Talking about the ending?
Oh no, not that. No, I'm not giving that away.
Oh, okay.
Not giving that away. One of the scenes that was originally deleted from the US release is we get more of Leon training Matilda. Okay. So in the theatrical release and US release, what we got was he was training her on a sniper rifle on a roof, and apparently the test shot was like a US senator or something. He had a Secret Service detail, right? And for those who haven't seen it, you have to understand Matilda is like a 9 or 10-year-old Natalie Portman. Okay, Queen Amidala. All right,
still a good actress back then too, even as a child.
Yeah, I mean that movie. I mean, look, the stuff that she had to say and even do in that movie. Look, she was beyond her age in that film. I mean, awesome. By today's standards, that could be a little cringy, but it was still, like I said, it's still a good movie, But one of the scenes that was an extra scene spoilers if you don't want to watch it, fast forward about 2 minutes. Was an additional training scene where one of the things that Leon told her is, as you get better with a weapon, you get closer to your target. So you always start with a rifle because you're far away, because you're not good yet. You're not trained yet. But then once you get to the point that you are like a master assassin, the last weapon you learn is the knife because of how close you have to be. So there's some sadistic stuff.
Close hand-to-hand combat.
Awesome.
Got to be
Exactly.
up close and personal, man.
Exactly. So the closer you would get, the better you got with the weapon, you moved up to one that was closer. So she started with the rifle. The scene they showed was now her with a gun and a handgun and a silencer. And what they did is they have her go up to one of his targets, someone he's been assigned to.
Right.
They knock on the door, and he looks through the peephole, and it's this little 10-year-old girl. Hey, would you like Girl Scout cookies? So the guy opens the door, okay, whatever. And boom, Leon pushes him up inside. He pulls Matilda inside. They close the door. He's looking at the guy. The guy's like, oh my God. And I think Leon's like, shut up or be quiet, something like that. And he's like, no, Matilda. He hands her the gun. Mm-hmm. She's pointing the gun, and as he's telling her what to do, it sounds like something you hear in Call of Duty. He's like, do not pull. You must squeeze the trigger and hold your breath. It's like he's giving her a Call of Duty tutorial, man. Mm-hmm. That way, those who played Call of Duty know what I'm talking about. He's like giving her that kind of tutorial. Right. And this guy, this poor guy, who's supposed to be the guy getting hit,
the
Mark, he's like, what the? He's like, oh my, what the? He doesn't know what to say. So he's like, you want to go center mass? 2 shots to confirm. The guy's freaking out. She pulls the trigger, and you hear, and like I said, it's a silencer. So you're like, oh my God, did she really do it? And it was like a paintball gun. But boom, boom, center mass, right?
Right.
And he's like, that's good for now, Matilda. You go outside. She goes, the guy's like, now he's pissed off. He's like, what the? He's thinking this is like some sick joke. And he starts acting all tough with Leon, right? Leon, he's just watching Matilda go outside. He hears the guy talking crap, and he just like, pop, pop, with his real gun and put him out. Yeah. But like, that was an example of a scene because a customer came up to me. Same customer came up before. What's the difference between these two? So I said, oh, no, get that one, man. I'm telling you, there's an added scene. I just told him it's a scene with an additional training scene with a pistol. Hang on a second. We have an interruption. I'm going to come back with training scene with a pistol. Hang on. Hey, Jaden, we're recording, okay? Me and Kyle just doing a StreamYard podcast. We're just recording though. So, okay. Love you. Okay, we're picking back up with a training pistol. Okay. I told him you cannot miss this version. It's freaking like crazy. He goes, okay. So comes back, it was 3 days later.
Right.
And he's like, dude, I thought she was going to kill him. And then she goes away. And then the guy's like all pissed. And then Leon, not even a word, just bat. It was just a badass movie. It was awesome.
Hey, he was teaching her how to clean, and he finished cleaning himself.
Exactly. Oh my God, dude, I love that movie. And dude, and and it's for those of you, if you were to watch this film, which you should, Luc Besson is the director who also directed The Fifth Element.
There you go. Nice little segue, man, because that's one of the ones I always had on my shelf.
Dude, of course.
I'm a big sci-fi fan, of course, but in this case, it's The Fifth Element is one of those movies. It gets into that thing where I don't think you could have cast it any better. I don't think you could remake it. You can't capture what was captured in that film. That's why I always liked it. I thought it was a very intriguing and interesting idea and something that you really hadn't seen before. So I was really intrigued by that. And then, as you mentioned, Luc Besson directed it, and you had Bruce Willis. You had Mila Jovovich.
Yes.
And,
how about that?
The Leeloo Dallas multipass.
Oh, come on. I actually have a Leeloo Dallas multipass.
Excellent. Good job.
Awesome.
And everything from, the start of the movie with the Luke Perry cameo.
They got picked on by him one time.
Good. You probably deserved it.
At Dragon.
But my favorite part of that whole movie, and this is, I think, just one of the most underrated actors in cinema, even till still today, Gary Oldman.
Oh God, dude.
Dude,
Goaties be goaties.
That movie. Some of that stuff that he did and his character was just
Man,
to me that made the movie as good as the other stuff was. Playing off of, you know, Chris Tucker's playing off of Bruce Willis was funny as hell, but yeah, that Gary Oldman is the show stealer for me. I love that movie, and I loved it because of him as kind of like the biggest piece of that. That was why it was always on my shelf. Just fun movie, excellent story, great visuals, fantastic.
And I couldn't agree with you more on the movie review, on the story, but especially the Gary Oldman thing. Because I'm gonna tell you something. There are, and he's one of them. There's 3 actors that are still alive today. You know, thank goodness. That there's no role they can't do, but more than that, they can do anything. They can become anyone in these roles, and they're so dramatically different. And they just, you know, you don't see. Okay, Gary Oldman is one of them. Johnny Depp and Christopher Walken. Okay, those are 3 actors today that can do any role, whether it's comedic, whether it's dumb, whether it's dramatic, whether it's scary, whether it's whatever you need it to be. These 3 bring it every single time, and it's like Oscar material for me every single time I watch it. But Gary Oldman, I mean, good Lord, you
They're
got
scene stealers, you know, and that's, they're, well, Johnny Depp is usually kind of a top billed actor, but
definitely
Gary Oldman never is like the top billed actor,
and
but
he should be. I mean, remember True Romance?
Exactly, and
Gary Oldman with dreads.
Okay, see there, there you go, because you know you got Christopher Walken in there too.
That's right.
So, and that's what I'm saying. That's the other thing about Christopher Walken is he's usually not the headliner either. I mean, can he be? Sure, but he's usually the backup guy. He's usually, you know, supporting actor, or in a very like a cameo or bit role. And every time he's on screen, steals that scene. You know, you can't help. You get sucked in. You know, obviously he's got the iconic accent and everything like that, but you can't help but watch when he's performing on screen. You just can't. The same thing with Gary Oldman. And like you said, I think with Gary Oldman, I think his range, and like you were talking about, you can put him in anything and it comes to life. And it's a pretty rare talent. There's not too many actors in the history of cinema that can truly pull that off to that degree.
Oh, no, definitely. I mean, here's the thing. So this happens every time that I talk about Gary Oldman in conversation. I'll say like, man, I still can't believe that was Gary Oldman. Like I said, for example, in True Romance, they're like, wait a minute. They're like, no, who was he in that? I'm like, dude, he's the white boy with the dreads and the scar. He's like, and they were like, that it was not my. They're like that is not Gary Oldman. I go, yes, it is.
Yeah,
yes, it is. And then here's another one. A lot of people didn't realize that Gary Oldman, and due to his Harry Potter fame, like I have to go, okay, Sirius Black, and like, oh yeah, you know, I have to say that. But they're like, okay, so yes, Gary Oldman, Sirius Black, was Dracula in Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yes, he was.
Francis Ford Coppola's movie. And they're like, wait a minute, I love that. Wait, no, like I love that movie. That's not him. I go, yes, it is.
It is him.
It is him. He's like, people. It's not that he had so much makeup and stuff, because in the movie he ends up, you know, outside the old man makeup, and is this him, you know?
Yeah.
But the thing is that like we said earlier, he immerses himself into the character he's portraying so well and so much that, like Sirius Black, they don't call him Gary Oldman, they call him Sirius Black. For the Dracula, it's Bram Stoker's Dracula. You know, they forget that it's Gary Oldman because he has suspended that belief that he's Gary Oldman. No, he is this fictional character that he's playing.
Yeah, there's that. Same thing, Commissioner Gordon in the Christopher Nolan Batman series. I mean, yeah, like I said, any role he's in, and he's been in so many good movies. It's crazy.
Oh no,
a lot of stuff people wouldn't think of and don't even realize, and some that they've never seen and they probably should.
Oh, I agree. Oh wait, so here's another one on my list for you.
Okay, go ahead.
It stars Keanu Reeves, and regarding reality. And no, it's not The Matrix, because that's the first thing everyone's going to think. No.
Yep.
Before he was Neo or Tom Henderson, he was simply just Johnny from the film Johnny Mnemonic.
Yes.
That movie, oh my God, it was ahead of its time.
It was. It's very dated now, but still a fun ride. Again, if you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. Check it out.
You got what? Ice-T, Johnny, Keanu, Dolph
Um,
Lundgren playing the street preacher, looking like freaking
Yes.
Moses. I loved it.
and then you have Henry Rollins as what?
That's you. And
My apologies, man. That came out of nowhere.
But yeah, Henry Rollins as the scientist,
Spider,
dude. Oh,
the street doctor.
Spider.
But yeah, you just, I mean, again, it's just a fun ride, man. Everything, it's a fun ride.
And you know, like I said, I'm a huge Dolph Lundgren fan. There's certain movies that it's like, okay, he's there, but there's certain ones that were memorable. This one, like I was ready to watch a movie where he plays Moses for real because of how much he's a crazy street preacher in the movie, but straight up, I'm like, dude, I want to see a biblical movie with him in it. Or
he's not just a street preacher; he's a mercenary, man.
He's a merc, yeah, he's a merc. So he's dressed like Moses. He's like Charlton Heston Moses from the Ten Commandments, right? He's got the wild hair, and he's got this crucifix. Exactly, but the handle of the crucifix is actually a freaking knife. Yeah. And I love how he's like, "Come to Jesus, stab."
Yep. Excellent movie, man.
Man, and it would crack me up. There's one. Okay, it's not a real spoiler, but there's a scene where he's the reason he's called a street preacher. Not only does he look like Moses, but he's preaching. He's like doing God's work, right?
Right.
And there's one point where he's like, "Come, ye sinners, this," and he gets hit with like a car, and he stands up and he's like, "Oh, Jesus!" it was just like, damn. When you watch it, you understand why I laugh because it was just like that unexpected little comedic relief comment in one word, just, "Oh, Jesus." Right. But no, so for me, that's Johnny Mnemonic. That is The Professional, and The Game. And The Game, that's one of those I can't go into it too much because that one is kind of like,
go into it.
I'm not going to, but yeah, but like the movie Sixth Sense, The Game has rewatch value, okay? Because you pick something up different every time you watch it. But it's one of those, if you know the ending, just like Sixth Sense, if you've already seen it, the ending is kind of boom. But the difference with this is that even though you've watched it, you've seen the ending, it's every time you watch, every time you're on the adventure of the rewatch, you catch something different. With the Sixth Sense, they gave too much away at the end, all the little hints and things, and I'm gonna leave that there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's 3 for me. What you got? What's your next one?
Okay, I'm gonna shift into a category I like to refer to as perfect movies.
Okay.
There's only a couple of them.
Got you.
But one of those perfect movie, as in, honestly, you really can't remake it. You shouldn't even try.
Okay. Well, another one. Okay.
And for me, I in this case, it's a trilogy, but I only went with the original. And for me, that is the classic. That is Back to the Future.
I knew it. And I agree with you. I totally agree with you on that. There's been jokes about. Sorry, let me get readjusted here. There's been many, memes, gifs, whatever you want. Look, for the longest time, I would call the memes mimes.
Right.
Until my sons are finally like, "Dad, it's memes." I'm like, anyway, side story.
You had to get educated by your kids.
Exactly. But I have a hard time. So with Back to the Future, tell me your opinion. One, the memes were like having Robert Downey Jr. and Tom Holland take over those iconic roles. They did a deep fake. And I'm not going to lie. The deep fake looked pretty good.
It did.
It's one of those, they told the story perfectly.
Yes.
It's timeless. Part of being a movie about time travel. But it's timeless.
It really is.
In a bottle.
And that's the thing is, like I said, you could try. I mean, like you said, the deep fake was excellent. Mm-hmm. I'd have no problems with that casting, but you're never going to recapture the perfectness of that movie, the way it came together, the way that cast interacted with one another. Yeah. Like you said, it is timeless. It is, now it's a straight period piece across the board, but in general, again, pick a hole in that movie. I dare you.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
there's nothing wrong with it at all.
Yeah. I mean, what you come down to is, and I like how you separate, you said it's a trilogy, but you separate the first, because here's the way I see it. You can take the movie / movie series in 2 ways. Yeah. You can take it as the first movie is a standalone. It's perfect. Mm-hmm. Or the trilogy altogether is perfect. The only one you could separate, and it's a great standalone in my opinion, is like you just said, the first movie by itself can stand its own. the part
Two and three kind of linked together. So
exactly. So it's one of those all or one.
Yeah.
thing.
No,
Part
no,
one.
don't get me wrong. I love all.
Oh yeah,
three.
yeah.
But to me, one is, like you said, it's the standalone by itself.
Mhm.
Everything about it is just on the money, perfect. It's fantastic across the board. I mean,
yeah.
and the funny thing is, and those of you that don't know some of the backstory of it, is Michael J. Fox originally couldn't do the movie.
That's
And
right.
they started filming with Eric Stoltz in the lead role.
And right here, people are like, "Who's Eric Stoltz?"
Look him up.
Yeah, no, all joking aside,
But,
even though it didn't work, even though Eric Stoltz and Back to the Future didn't, cohese together,
right.
Eric Stoltz is an awesome actor in his own right. So no,
Oh,
we're not picking on him, we're not respecting him with this, but it
But
just he wasn't for this.
Right, but if you see those behind the scenes clips or the clips that they did film of him,
Mhm.
it didn't have that same magic.
No.
It didn't have that connectivity. He didn't have the same comedic timing that Michael J. Fox had. And I think that is why, like, when I say, like I said, it's a perfect movie, is
Mhm.
you had to have all these things happen to line up just that way to get just the right cast in each of those roles to make it have that ensemble pop the way it did. And
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
it's just incredible.
Oh, no, it is. And the thing is, like, people would say, well, it's because Eric Stoltz is not really a comedy actor. I would say yes, he's not. He is definitely not a comedic actor, but that doesn't mean that he can't do comedic scenes. Because
Correct.
let's get it straight. Come on, Pulp Fiction, the infamous
Yeah.
reviving scene. Let's call it. I'll leave it there.
Hold on, no, you just transitioned for me because Pulp Fiction was on my list too.
Okay, so audience, in case you haven't realized this, not only have we known each other for almost 30 years. Yeah,
Mhm.
coming up on 30 years.
Yep.
We pretty much share half a brain. So
Sometimes.
don't be surprised. Well, a good amount of time. I'm not saying every time, but we pretty much share half a brain. So there's a lot of times where, like, I'm segueing without meaning to, and it's in his list, and it happens vice versa. So just be ready for that crazy ride. But go ahead. Sorry. Pulp Fiction.
So for me, like I said, I probably, if I were to do this today, I probably would not have Pulp Fiction on it. But at the time, it was one of my favorite movies, and of course, it was of that time. Of course, right there in the mid '90s, and at that time was kind of I kind of looked at Pulp Fiction in the movie industry, kind of what you saw with like the grunge movement and music happen. It really kind of smacked movie making in its face. It was a complete shift of what was basically being done at that time. You didn't see a lot of it. It brought a lot of that indie movie vibe, but on a bigger screen and venue with that. And if you look at what it accomplished, all right, Bruce Willis was fine before that movie and after it, so I will leave him out of this.
Yeah,
it revived John Travolta's career.
It did.
It brought Samuel L. Jackson into the forefront where everybody actually knew who he was.
Yes.
It introduced the world to Ving Rhames.
Yes, it did.
Right. Uma Thurman had a career and was doing fine, but she had not reached that. I don't think she'd had that respect as an actress yet until that movie.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, like I said, if you look at the things it did and how it told that story, and again, it was all out of here. Case in point, another Christopher Walken cameo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Exactly. The watch.
So, that's one of my favorite scenes.
Dude, I'm sorry. The way I'm not going to go into it too much, but just it says something that he could say those lines so straight faced.
Oh yeah. Well, that's Christopher Walken, because there's nobody else, I swear, that could have delivered those lines in that role.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't have, again, would not have the same effect. Perfect casting for the role. And so all of that, you have Harvey Keitel's in there. I mean, you have tons of stuff. Really kind of the introduction to even Tim Roth.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like I said, he was in stuff. Obviously, he was in Reservoir Dogs, which was also another Tarantino film and stuff like that. But my point is, Pulp Fiction transcended the indie movie genre area at that time into the big screen and to Hollywood, and really just, when that hit, like I said, it was game changing.
Oh yeah, and Tarantino, along with, and this may or may not be a segue, Tarantino and Kevin Smith, both of them for me were pivotal filmmakers, especially in the '90s, because they both did something out that was at the time only really done in something like the James Bond franchise. And with James Bond franchise, yes, you could call it a shared universe because it's to a point, but you almost can't. I don't know if you can or can't. And here's why I say that, because James Bond is a franchise of sequels of stories that the same characters following. So it's a little different from what I'm about to say with Tarantino and with Kevin Smith, in that they really established in the film world. They were really the first to establish, in my opinion, the concept of a shared universe across movies. You have what was originally called the Jersey trilogy, which obviously expanded past 3 movies from
Right.
Kevin Smith.
Now it's
Tarantino, you had Pulp Fiction, you had Reservoir Dogs. Come on,
True Romance. He wrote
True
that.
Romance. The Kill Bill volumes 1 and 2. But
Yeah.
you started seeing characters or even actors reappear, maybe as different characters, but they were in this shared universe.
Yep.
And that really didn't happen before those two.
No,
Like I said, Kevin Smith. How many movies did we see Jay and Silent Bob that if you hadn't seen Clerks or Mallrats or Chasing Amy, like if you watch Dogma and you see these two, it's if you know, you know. If you don't, you don't, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, you called it again. Nice little segue. You're just setting them up on a tee for me, brother.
I would love to.
Again, product of its times, and it would still be on there today because it was just amazing. This is straight indie film through and through, and that's Clerks by Kevin Smith. And Clerks was that movie. The best way I can describe it is we were at Blockbuster. We were clerks.
Exactly.
We
Yes.
related to that movie on a level that was unnatural, man.
I felt like I was watching something made by one of us.
Right, exactly. And that's what I'm saying is like you watch that, you see the customers, and you're like, oh, I know that customer. Oh, I had that happen to me too. Favorite one, you kind of referenced it even in the last episode of this where you were saying, do you have that one with that guy that was in that movie that was out last year? Love that stuff. And and yes, we got that question all the time.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like you wouldn't really understand the comedic mention of that phrase unless you've been on our end where it's like, yeah, you know what? It's like, dude, I laugh, but I don't know if I want to laugh because like that is so true. That movie with that person that was in the other movie from 2 years ago with the alien.
Yep.
Yeah, it's Alien 3. There you go. Have a good day.
I'll take a pic. Just throw it out there.
No, exactly, man. But like I said, anything with Tarantino and Kevin Smith, they've had their hits, they've had their misses, and they've had their what I would call sleeper hits that like that nobody expected it to have been produced by them, but it was, and it's it's one of those, wow, they can actually do something a little different. Right. But speaking of different, I'm gonna throw a little, not monkey wrench, but I'm gonna throw a little sidestep here.
Go ahead, man.
So, 2 movies that would oftentimes make it onto my wall. And this would happen because there's times where, yes, I do it by genre, like most of us would. But then there's times where I just got on and you'll feel this, I just got on a weird theme kick. Where I was like, man, I feel like watching a bunch of different horror, but not just any horror, like slashers. Or I feel like watching a drama, but not just any drama, mafia. It just got this weird kick, right?
Yeah.
So these are, hell, I'm gonna say 3 movies. There's 3 movies that when I watched one of them, I had to watch the other 2. I can't explain. Like in the same week, it's like, nope, I gotta watch this one now. I gotta watch this one. Goodfellas.
Love it.
Casino.
Love it.
And Carlito's Way.
Love it.
Those are like, I can't explain it, but for some reason, if I were to catch just one of those, kind of like Jaws. Doesn't matter how many times I've seen it. Doesn't matter if it's the same scene every time. If I'm flipping channels and one of those movies pop up,
you're stopping.
I have to stop. I have to stop.
Yep.
Controller down and pull my phone down today, right? And give it my full attention and just be like, I must watch the greatness that is Casino or Goodfellas or Carlito's Way. Oh, Carlito's Way, dude, that one, man.
See, that's where me and you are slightly different. Like your Carlito's Way, great movie, loved it. Mm-hmm. But out of those 3 movies, it's number 3 for me.
Which one?
In fact, you said it in order. Goodfellas.
Oh, yeah.
Those 3, Casino's the second best. Then there's Carlito's Way. Excellent movie. Not saying anything bad about it. You're just, in my opinion, you're comparing it against 2 of the best mafia-based movies of all time.
And yes, he said that he didn't say Godfather. He said Goodfellas, and he said Casino. Godfather is always going to be. I can already hear the haters saying it. It's like, look, Godfather will always be the Godfather, but let's just.
I didn't say they were the best.
I know you didn't say it.
Some of the best. That's all.
But come on, Goodfellas and Casino, those were like just freaking mafia masterpieces. Nothing against the Godfather. Don't get me wrong, but they were. Yeah, it's not that they were necessarily better, but they were different. A different vibe, a different style of storytelling, a very
to me that is the those are the big highlights of Scorsese. Those two just if I was gonna recommend Scorsese movies, those are the first two I go to every time.
Oh yeah, and
I mean, again, we're talking about a guy who has a nice little resume there that's full of bangers and hits across the board. Yeah. But those two again stand out to me as like those are, in my opinion, his two best films.
Oh, I totally I agree. And with Carlito's, I know Carlito's Way. I'm not saying that it's better. It's just Carlito's Way hits me because there's something to be said, and I'm not going to give any spoilers, okay? But when a movie where the titular character, what you know what I'm saying? The title character, basically, yeah.
Good man.
It's a mafia thing, so guess he's probably the mafia or some kind of mafia or some kind of organized crime, okay? But a movie that can make you feel for the bad guy. That movie, he's accomplished something. Because another movie that did that was the movie, and this one's even more, not messed up, but it says a lot more because this was a real person, this next one. Johnny Depp playing, and I can't remember the character's name, but Blow. Where he's playing the dude, the man. Georgia. Yes. Mm-hmm. Who introduced cocaine to America, to the United States. He's like literally given that title of, he is the guy that.
He wasn't the guy who introduced America, but he's the one who took it and definitely made it.
He made it what it is. Let's put it that way. He took it up.
He made it an American staple drug.
Yes.
Say that.
Yes. And same thing.
Another great movie.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, once again, not going to give away the ending, but it is another movie where he's not. Was he an evil man? No. Greedy man, bad guy, yeah, but evil, no. But what I'm going to say is, at least in the portrayal of the movie, right?
Right.
But again, just like in Carlito's Way, a movie, dude, I shed a tear for this guy, and then I'm like, what? I'm crying for a drug dealer? It just the movie. It was so moving. All the way through to the ending, the things that happen. I'm not going to go into it because that's one I don't want to give anything away. But you felt for the bad guy. A movie that can make you feel for that bad guy is special.
It's accomplished something. Absolutely. Yeah. You just touched on a topic that I was going to bring up, and I'm not a big crier at movies. But there is one movie that every time I watch it, including today,
Old Yeller,
this movie, I will cry. It just hits me different.
Which one?
And it was on my list, and that was the movie Philadelphia with Tom Hanks and Denzel.
Oh, damn, dude. Tom Hanks earned that Academy Award for that movie that year.
That performance was just so incredible across the board.
Oh yeah,
everything about it was amazing. Cameo of Antonio Banderas in that movie.
Oh yeah,
I mean, most people miss that.
Well, by that point, Banderas didn't have his lion's mane.
Very true. But there's just scenes in that movie that, for whatever reason, they just hit me in the feels every single time. I remember seeing it in the movie theater, and I got asked, "Are you crying?" And I went, "No, I'm not crying." White.
I'm not crying. You're crying.
Exactly. Yeah. No. I said, but no. In all honesty, it hits the feels, and to me, that performance by Tom Hanks, to me, is one of the best performances ever.
That will be a staple in his career. That will be
absolutely a staple in his career. But I think it's not just his career; it's the performance on a whole.
Oh yeah,
everything about it. Like I said, that dramatic storytelling of such a, especially at that time, controversial and subject.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
it was very informative and mind blowing, and just it it was different, man. Like I said, it just hits different,
you
and
know,
so that's one of those why I loved it. And I love the fact that Denzel Washington basically was the voice of the public at that time.
yeah,
You
and
know, and his outspokenness against it, um, to a homosexual lifestyle, getting a disease that at that time was still not a lot
yeah,
known about, and AIDS, and freaking out about it and having thoughts about it. I love that portrayal as well. His performance
yeah.
was magnificent.
I mean, that movie. Here's the thing, and it's funny you mention it because we, you and I, we were '80s and '90s kids. Okay,
Yeah,
we grew up when, and Philadelphia. This is a movie, and you're right. It's not just a staple in his career. This is a very important film. I'm going to say for society in general because it
yeah.
marks the time. It marks the time,
Oh,
but it
absolutely.
is a reminder and possibly even a re-education. And here's what I mean by that. We now live in a day, Kyle. I never thought we would see a day that we would see commercials on TV for medications that can allow a person who is HIV positive to no longer be HIV detectable, meaning
Yeah,
that they got a handle on this disease. This is a disease that when you and I were children, whether it was HIV or the full blown AIDS, it was a death sentence.
yeah.
It
It
wasn't
was.
a question of if, it was a question of when. Okay.
Mhm.
And, a lot of people, this movie, Philadelphia, and there's another movie um, based on the true story of the AIDS response. How when it first came out with Matthew Modine and Angelica Huston, the star, Sir Ian McKellen is in it as well, and the band played on.
Yeah,
That movie is an awesome marker in time, like Philadelphia, where it tracks the AIDS epidemic at its source as far as like the societal impact. At first, the name of it was not AIDS. Okay,
mhm.
um, it was actually called GRID, GRID, which was gay related immune deficiency. Okay, then that led to a lot of bigotry, a lot of that's the time it was. But it reflected that, it showed that, and then eventually it was called AIDS because they realized, okay, no, it's not simply related to one pack of people. It's passed through blood, passed through saliva, etc. It's an STD basically, and so they was later renamed acquired immune deficiency syndrome, or AIDS. But it was a battle, and that topic was so not taboo, but it was such a you couldn't talk about it back then because whether it no longer mattered if you were heterosexual, homosexual, but the movie and the band played on, and like I said, in Philadelphia, just really kind of it marked. And Philadelphia, with me to your point regarding Denzel Washington, yes, he represented the person who did not have homosexual friends, who was shielded from AIDS because he was in his little bubble with his family and his like that. And so we see through his eyes how a what they would have said back then, a normal person, back then, not now, we see through his eyes him having to be face to face with this in various ways, face to face with a homosexual client, face to face with a client that has AIDS, face to face with himself.
Himself and his fears.
Exactly, because as the movie progresses, we see him evolve, we
Yes.
see him change, and we which is a good thing. Okay, a la American History X, where strong movie, strong subject matter, controversial subject matter, but we see change, and that change is possible. So those movies, and tearjerker, segue, American History X, that one gets me. That because that movie, oh my gosh, look, you remember when that movie came out?
Yeah.
It was so controversial.
Hmm.
We had to go to a specific movie theater to watch it because a lot of theaters weren't carrying it because they were afraid of potential race riots because of the movie. Okay. And on the surface, if you just knew what it was about and that people wanted to watch it or thought it was a good movie, that could spark argument because people hadn't seen it. When you watch it, you realize, look, yes, the movie is about hate, but it's not advocating it.
Correct.
It's showing that change is possible. Change can happen. Those Philadelphia, and the band played on American History X. Those are examples of dramas that made me tear up, whether it was based in reality or based in someone's in a fictional but retelling of reality, like a mirror reality kind of thing. Those three movies, like I said, it's just sorry, with Philadelphia, you got me feeling that one. So
Yeah.
But yeah, for anybody who hasn't seen those movies, go watch them. Look, get some Kleenex. You gonna cry.
All right.
Okay.
I've got one more I want to talk about, but I'm
Okay.
gonna ask you, what else you got left?
I've got one in the chamber.
All right.
That we had to change up this drama because the drama, nothing wrong with drama, but I don't want to go down on the the tearful ones. So
I got
you out
I'm
there.
doing the same thing, brother.
I'm gonna throw this out there.
We're not
And
going
it
out in
was
the
the
fields.
origin. It was the origin of one of our current great actors, and his opening line, his first line ever in a major film. All right, all right, all right. Dazed and confused. Matthew McConaughey, Ben Affleck, Mia Jovovich. God, I mean that
Jeff
movie has so
London,
many young people, so many people.
Cole Hauser,
Lauren-
you like Yellowstone now?
Mhm. Joey Lauren Adams.
Lauren Adams in there, Parker Posey.
Mhm.
Yeah, especially at that time, it was like a who's who of indie film.
Yes, and it was just, dude. I'm sorry.
Another one.
Which one?
I said Adam Goldberg.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Marissa Ribisi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, we'd be here all day.
Oh, no, in that movie, that was just good old fashioned like high school, not hijinks. Just granted, we the movie takes place in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Make love, not war.
Right.
That's 60s, but anyway, it takes place in the 70s, and it was just basically the high school hijinks that was at the time. It is what it is, and it was just good old fashioned fun. It was a fun flick. That's one of those. It was comedic,
fun.
But it also spoke to to what it is to be a teenager in any decade.
I think
it's time for me again. Timeless.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%.
Now what you?
So you had one in the chamber. So here's mine, and I'm going to go to something we've discussed before personally.
Oh hell!
This is a movie that you could not remake today.
Oh god. Okay.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and preface this with, if you're easily offended, do not watch this movie. But if you can handle stuff that is definitely not politically correct and you just want to laugh until you're crying.
Is it one movie or is it three?
It's one.
Okay.
It is the Mel Brooks classic Blazing Saddles.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That movie is beyond funny. I'm a huge Mel Brooks fan, just in general. But it's also co-written by Richard Pryor. And a lot of people don't know that.
No, you're right. A lot of people don't know.
And the comedic genius that comes out in that movie and those performances, like I said, I laugh until I cry from the beginning of the movie to the very end.
Oh, yeah. But here's the thing. Blazing Saddles. Mel Brooks. We all, if you don't know who the man is, shame on you. But he's a comedy director, writer. But his stories, they have social relevance if you read between the lines. Now, with Blazing Saddles, you don't have to do that much reading between the lines. It's right freaking there.
Yeah.
But it's making fun of our ignorance and arrogance. It's like, look, we know how people are, and this is why it's stupid. It's basically like the main character says, so and so are so and so. I don't want to give it away. Yeah. But Blazing, that is one of those that if you hear about it but don't see it, you think that people who watched it are like, how can you laugh at that? Like you said, if you didn't know it was written by Richard Pryor, it's like I think it's not a remake, but the closest that I could say to someone who from today who wasn't alive at that time, what's the movie with Adam Driver where he's like an undercover guy with the KKK? It was a comedy. Black Klansman, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Blazing Saddles and Black Klansman, they're nowhere near the same movie, but they're along the same kind of societal line, just in a different way.
I'll give you that.
So for those who have not seen Blazing Saddles, who don't understand it or think it's like one way because of what they've heard, if you've seen Black Klansman, I'm not saying you've seen Blazing Saddles, but it's one of those. It's not that it's not that different. So don't if you like
you
Black
can kind of
Klansman,
get the gist of the movie and the
exactly,
involved with
exactly.
it. And like I said, for me, there is no greater comedy. That is my favorite comedy of all time.
Okay.
Has been. I can't even remember how long I've. Since the first time I watched it, I don't even remember how long ago it was at this point. But I know the movie Upside and Down. I can quote it. Yes, even sing the songs. It's again, it's an all-time classic. It's one of my favorites and funniest damn movie I've ever seen. I love it.
Yeah. Now, and like I said, we can go on and on, but I'll throw a few more out there because you also had the have the customer that was like, look. I know, people tell me about this and this. What are some good, like, just kind of sleeper ones or what are ones that are like guilty pleasures, not in an adult way, but like, like just like out of nowhere movies that one, obviously I'm going to throw out there is The Wraith. We've talked about that many times one-on-one with us and then even on some of our channels. The Wraith is such a good time it's action, sci-fi, drama, suspense, all of that mixed. It's like it's a fun ride.
Yeah,
pun. It's a fun ride.
That it is.
Dude, The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai.
Cult classic.
Nothing has to make sense. It just is, man. Come on.
Is.
Big Booty. But I mean, there are so many movies like that. Spaceballs. That's it. Now here's one. You definitely couldn't remake this today, but this is one. This would not have made it on my top weekly movies, but because we mentioned Richard Pryor and what the thought that went in my head when he said movies that couldn't be remade today, The Toy.
Oh, definitely can't read that. No, you don't want to. That's again, product of its time, which is today's day and age is a sad commentary of where we were as a society at the time.
It is. I mean,
but at the same time,
geniuses though.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is at the time when you look at it and you look at the people involved with it, it was Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
It was Jackie Gleason. And you're going to laugh because they're hilarious. They're funny guys. And even with it being, we'll just say highly inappropriate now. But it's, again, performances were fantastic. Again, make you laugh.
So I'm gonna do the 6-shooter here since we're running a little on time.
Go ahead, man. Let's go.
But Coming to America, Beverly Hills Cop,
and
part 2 as well. Okay. Guilty pleasures.
Also love it.
Don't judge me for this one. Cobra. You just have to laugh. You have to laugh at
okay. I won't judge. I swear. I won't judge.
Commando.
Oh, okay.
Lit off some steam.
My guilty pleasures from that time are definitely Arnold Schwarzenegger action movies. They're great.
Come on, man.
God, they're fantastic. Even the bad ones are great.
Hold on. We're not talking that Raw Deal is not in that list.
Okay, and
just making sure because Raw Deal, that was such a raw deal.
Dude, you're sidebarring. Pull it back.
Okay, sorry. All right, so
we're not here to talk about the worst movies. We're talking
Predator.
About love it. Fantastic movie.
Chud. That it's a guilty pleasure for me. Chud.
Yeah. It's definitely your guilty pleasure, man.
Typical 80s horror movie is what that is. But what I know we could say what are some other good guilty pleasure sleeper hits that like it never went to theater kind of thing. Literally the only reason it was popular was because of word of mouth at video stores that made it onto that list.
Boondock Saints.
Yes. How did we forget that one?
I didn't forget it.
Okay, how did I forget that one?
Yeah, I don't know. That one again. Nobody knew what it was when it came out. And
Sleepers.
What's that?
Sleepers.
Okay.
Brad Pitt, Jason Patrick. Robert De Niro. Oof.
All right.
Earth Girls are easy. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Dude, come on, Jeff Goldblum,
look,
Jim Carrey.
I'm going to be
Jim
right here.
Carrey.
Look,
Yeah.
one of my guilty pleasures is a movie I love. It came out late 90s. I think it was 98, 99, somewhere around there. Did not have a large theatrical release, did not have a fan following or cult following on shelves, but it is a guilty pleasure of mine because, again, it's so highly relatable to me. And that's the movie Free Enterprise, which
you
is...
introduced me to that one.
Yeah, it's about, basically two Trekkie nerds who just, can't help themselves and their friendship, how it came to be, and the relationship drama that follows with that. But like I said, it's not something that I would ever recommend for a lot of people. But if you are a Star Trek fan or even a science fiction, comic book, geek culture kind of fan, you will find a lot to relate to in this movie. And for me, that movie reminds me of me and you. Because it's two guys, they talk movies. Like, you can have a conversation quoting movies, which is us.
Yes.
So that's my guilty pleasure. Like I said, it's not something that I would sit here and say that anybody would even think of. It's very hard to find, but if you get a chance, check it out. If for no other reason, to see William Shatner rap at the end. Just saying.
Oh, good Lord, man.
And if that's not exciting and interesting to you, don't watch it.
Well, in the same vein,
to me, that was like a deal sealer. That was like, oh, that's it.
In the same vein,
okay.
This movie didn't come out while we were at Blockbuster. It came out later, but it took place in '98. Fanboys.
Another good movie.
And that's one that if we were still working at Blockbuster, that'd be like on there every single week for me. Because same thing. The Fanboys really reminded me of me, you, Norco, Luke, that whole, all of our Blockbuster.
Yeah.
That movie was a quintessential us movie. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
It's like, you could see it like, yeah, that's me, that's Kyle, that's Norco. No, Norco was a dude, man. There's some with that one, especially because that movie is about this group of friends that are going to break into the Lucas Ranch to see to see Phantom Menace before it releases. I'm not going to say why. It doesn't matter why just now. I don't want to ruin it. But the reason that is special is because you, me, Norco, we actually waited. So this is before you can buy tickets online. This is before you can, reserve them. You had to go when they went on sale and wait in line. And let me tell you something.
First come, first serve.
Yes. So we waited in line not once but twice, because first we had to get the line to get the tickets, which was like a couple of weeks before the movie came out in 1999.
Right.
And you had me, you, Norco. We basically all three camped out for hours at the AMC theater. And then when we got to buy our tickets, we bought like the first midnight showing, and then we bought like the last midnight showing the next 24 hours later.
Right.
And did we watch it 2 or 3 times in the first 24 hours? It was 2 at least.
It was at least 2. I don't know. We saw it so many times at the time.
Yeah.
Looking back, I go, what the hell we were thinking? But,
look,
still at the time, again, there hadn't been a new Star Wars movie in 20 something years. It was kind of a big deal. And
because of our age, we didn't get to see, I didn't get to see any of them in the theater during the 80s. I only saw them.
I did. I saw all 3 of them. Well, I'll tell you, I did not see the original Star Wars in the theater.
Yeah.
I saw it as an infant at the drive-in.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But I'm saying, where you could actually appreciate it, though, I had only seen them on VHS or HBO or, whatever. Right. So when they were coming out with this one, we were like, we had to. So we finally got to have the experience of waiting in theater, waiting in line. We snuck in Taco Bell. We snuck in any kind of food we could. And as we're waiting in line, someone brought, I think maybe even you, Star Wars Trivial Pursuit. We're playing that there. There's, that wasn't you? No, it may have been Luke.
That wasn't me.
That may have been Luke then. But we're seeing people dressed up in character, Darth Vader, stormtroopers, slave Leias. It was various Leias. There were slave Leias. There was the cinnamon bun Leias. There were Empire Leias. All that. Yeah. And the cool thing was that summer leading up to. Well, no, it wasn't that summer. So that was 1999. The release, May of '99. But 2 years prior, the summer of '97, where they gave one of the first previews for Phantom Menace. That summer is when they re-released the Star Wars special editions to the theaters. So June, July, August. June, New Hope. That's where we saw for the first time reintegrated the Jabba scene, a bunch of stuff, and then same thing. We got
Special
Empire.
edition.
Yeah, we got Empire in July, and then finish off the summer with Return.
Mm-hmm.
But what movie was it that we bought tickets just to watch the rumored Phantom Menace trailer? It was like the first. What movie? The three of us honestly bought a ticket. I can't remember what the movie was, so we didn't watch it. We just went in, saw the trailer, and we weren't the only ones. Got up and left. What movie was that? You don't remember?
I don't remember.
I don't remember, but it's like I have no clue what the movie was. But like I said,
I'll remember it like when we're not talking about it. I'll be like, oh yeah, it was this. Recall's a pain in the butt sometimes.
Yeah. Rad.
That's a definitely 80s guilty pleasure movie. Love it.
Lori Loughlin.
Okay, hold on. Let's pause right here. We got just a couple minutes here before we're gonna wrap this up. I have one final question for you.
Okay.
It'll be a little different here because we've been reminiscing about then.
Yes.
If you were to make your end cap today, what one movie that has come out since you stopped working at Blockbuster would you put on that list?
It can only be one. We can't make a fiver. We can't make a fiver.
No, not a new fiver. Just which one would you add to your list?
Oh, just add to my.
Yes. Which one would you add to it to put it on that end cap now? If you were to do that end cap now.
That's a horrible question. It's a good question, but it's a horribly hard question to answer.
I know.
Because since working at Blockbuster, we've had the entire MCU. We've had stuff like Interstellar. We've had the Batman trilogy, the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff.
Oh my God, one. I can only add one.
Okay, so here's the thing. My list hasn't really changed that much, even with all the stuff you just named.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna bump anything out for that. There is one movie that I would add into this rotation and again, this is my guilty pleasure.
Okay.
And you talk about if I see it, I don't care what channel it's on, I will watch it because I can't help myself. I can relate to it in a lot of ways. Because I worked at Dragon Con for so many years, I saw a lot of this stuff in person.
Okay.
You've been to enough conventions, you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
That is the movie Galaxy Quest.
Okay. Yeah.
There's nothing more real life satirical play off of Star Trek actors at a convention than what that movie portrays. And it portrays and captures precisely
oh my God,
what fandom is like, talking to their heroes, talking to the actors who play the characters. But the problem is a lot of these fans can't separate the actor from the character. And they think the actor is the character, that they're the same person.
Oh yeah. I mean,
but that movie was phenomenal. Tim Allen was great. Sigourney Weaver was great. Alan Rickman was just incredible.
Oh my God.
The whole cast. Dude, I'd be here all day.
Man, look, Alan Rickman, but no, because I'm here, you're saying this, and they're speaking of Dragon Con, you're 100% right, because I went to a Dragon Con one year where I got you a special autograph because you couldn't go.
Yep.
And it was the first time that William Shatner was at Dragon Con. Oh my God, trying to insane line. But yeah, Tim Allen and Alan Rickman caught perfectly the dynamic of Nimoy and Shatner, because it was like one of those, they were right next to each other, and even though they were talking to each other, I'm like, dude, are y'all friends or what? Because it was just like you couldn't tell, like, okay, are y'all friends or are y'all putting up with each other? Which one is it? Because it's like, before I thought they were kind of like me and you, and then afterwards it's kind of like
not so much.
Not so much. But no, you were 100% right about that. I still can't. Okay,
like I said, that's the one. That's the one that, for me. Like I said, if I was gonna slide something in, that would be it.
Okay. So you said one. Damn it.
If you can't do just one, just give me what you got.
Well, there's two that pop in my mind for definitely different reasons. The first one, Gladiator,
Okay.
with Russell Crowe, and that one I remember. This is why. Was why I was living in Athens with Luke, right?
Hmm.
And we went to the theater there. We watched it. As soon as we watched it, as soon as it ended, everybody's clapping, whatnot. And I look at Luke. I'm like, I'm telling you right now, this just won Best Movie, and Russell Crowe just won Best Actor. And I called them both. That year, Academy Awards, Russell Crowe Best Actor, Gladiator Best Film. It was just like it just spoke to me. I
Just
felt it. I knew it. This is it.
yeah.
It took both. The other one might seem a little awkward from me,
Okay.
but Man of Steel.
Okay.
Here's why I'm going to say that.
Go for it, man.
And it's not Henry Cavill. I'm a big Superman mark. I always have been.
Yes, you are.
And for the longest time, Christopher Reeves was the only Superman. I don't care. Even
Yeah.
though you had Dean Cain in the TV shows, you had the Superboy movies. Brandon Routh's attempt at it, which wasn't. I don't know if it was more Brandon Routh or whatnot, but that's a whole nother topic. But like there was no contender, not pretender, contender to the throne
Right.
of who the Man of Steel was. And
then you saw that movie.
And then I saw that movie, and there's a line in the marketing that was said for both this movie as well as the 2009 J.J. Abrams Star Trek.
Okay.
Which was in Star Trek, they said, "This is not your dad's Star Trek," and with Man of Steel, they said, "This is not your dad's Superman." Okay. Man of Steel, I thought Zack Snyder. I was worried because I know I like Zack Snyder.
Right.
I loved him on 300. Okay, I love what he did with 300. Okay, but I was nervous because I didn't. How was Zack Snyder going to bring Superman to life with his vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I fell in love with the movie with the opening Krypton sequence with Russell Crowe as Jor-El, seeing how all that went down. It was just like, damn, like I don't know. It was like I felt for the first time that this is what Krypton would have really been like versus the nice crystalline ice palaces of Marlon Brando.
Right.
No, it was much like the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy in that get the cartooniness out of it.
Okay.
What if this happened for real? With Batman, with the Chris Nolan Batman trilogy, there was an explanation for why the suit became the suit that it was. Why did you need a cape? Why this and that? It was no longer about theatricality. It was about the tools he needed to gain his edge.
Everything had a purpose.
Everything had a purpose, and then he tied up everything with the theatricality of a bat. And I loved Alfred's question, "Why a bat, sir?" Because I fear them, and I want my enemies to feel my dread. That was poetic. That was just like, damn, that was poetry.
Mm-hmm.
But with Man of Steel, it was the first time that with Christopher Reeve Superman, first and foremost, not insulting Christopher Reeve Superman. Let's just get that out of the way for any haters or whatnot out there. I'm not insulting his Superman. His Superman will always be the iconic Man of Steel. He will always be the first person people think of. I'm not going to lie. We know that. But the thing with Superman, that his Superman is very much like the comic book Superman, which is, I'm not saying overpowered, which some people will say that, and the comic book one is, but it was always like truth and justice. Like he's not fallible. Very rarely do we get to see him fallible or vulnerable.
Boy Scout. In this one, Clark's not a Boy Scout. Right.
He's a normal guy that found out he's an abnormal guy.
Right.
And having to come to terms with it, like, he's trying to get to where he's going. He had to steal clothes. He showed anger by destroying a guy's truck that threw beer in his face. It's like, damn. What if God was one of us? That kind of. I mean, yeah, it's a joke, it's a song, but still, it's kind of like
it definitely is.
He grew up here, which means he would be subjected to the same stuff that we're subjected to. Where in the Christopher Reeves one, he's a teen, something happens, he goes to the fortress, and then fast forward, he's Superman.
Right.
And like I said, once again, not insulting it. That was just the way of storytelling at the time. But like I said, Man of Steel, between Zack Snyder and Henry Cavill, they brought him to life in a way that I never thought would be possible. And I'm like, dude, I respected Cavill and Snyder's Superman. I respected that. I loved Russell Crowe's Jor-El, but no, so Man of Steel, I throw that one in there because, like I said, that was a really ballsy but awesome reimagining of a beloved character.
Okay.
In my opinion, I'm long-winded. I'm sorry.
I get, you are, but it's obviously a very personal choice to you. That's what this is about. And I think that's one of the things that's distinctly different between our lists is how the stuff we choose and why we choose it, and that's what makes this so fun and why I always enjoyed it. Which goes to the point. Anybody out there listening, what would your 5 be? Let us know. Let's your list. Let's see them.
Put them in the comments. Let us know. Because hell, you might trigger a heck of a conversation with it. Hell, maybe even bring you on. If there's any former Blockbuster employees that want to come on and throw their list down, whether it's in comment, email, or you want to just come on and throw it out there, hit us up and let us know.
Yep. Let's do it. But
as always, what, Kyle?
Make it a Blockbuster night.
Wow.
What a difference.